Good morning, my fellow human beings. I have no idea if you know who I am, so I will state my name. I am Dominic Hornick, and today we'll be going over what I learned in Miss McCrae's class, in addition to several other things in my papers. Now, being honest about the things I learned, I personally feel like I didn't learn a whole lot in this class. The primarily things I learned were the difference between an argumentative essay and a persuasive essay. In addition to learning how to write a memoir, should I ever come over the compulsion to do so, which I'm rather skeptical of. Only the bored and rich people, or the people undergoing a particular crisis, such as being in an insane asylum at the time, really feel the need or compulsion to write one, and I don't believe I'll ever fall under such compulsion. The other things that we were supposed to learn from this class, I learned in other classes, such as my AP US history class or English classes from previous years. Now then, moving along, we have to talk about our various assorted papers and items and such. So, my apologies for this, but you're going to have to listen to my writing. First up for my NFN writing would be A Culture of Unification. The first paragraph is what I will be reading. Cultures are all beautiful things from an interior perspective, and shaped by the events of the culture's time. Cultures do not change as much as they shift with time and their era. The Chinese culture of today is separate from the Chinese culture of a century ago and a century before that. Failure to fit into one's culture has always meant a long and harsh life for those who do not fit in. Will humans ever let go of the history that divides us and have peace, or are they doomed to the same cycle of insanity, violence that has engulfed us for centuries? Or will we be able to find a peaceful middle ground where coexistence is possible? Now then, moving along, we come to my second excerpt, which will be from my place-based writing unit, which can also be summarized as what being a person of Leavenworth has historically been in my return from college to my hometown. We will be reading the first paragraph from this one as well. The oldest fort west of the Missouri River is Leavenworth. It is the home of the Frontier Army Museum, a chronicle of the expansion of the United States west of the Missouri River. It is from here that soldiers were sent out with settlers to head west to protect them from various Indian tribes. For years the place remained a home of the military. To Leavenworth, men of all branches come, but only for a time. With them comes their families, and for me, new friends. Friends who would never stay, friends who would always leave. But more would always come. Someday I will also leave Leavenworth County and go somewhere new. Leavenworth was once a haven for the pioneer, the adventurer, and arguably still is. For many that come here, few will stay. Now then, moving along, we come along to my next essay, which would be Fresh Out of College. Basically what's happening in this essay is I'm explaining the flaws of free college. Now, I'm not saying free college is good or bad. In fact, I'm actually pro-free college. I'm saying that the system that the politicians in Washington have set up for a free college will not work at all. Now, moving on to actual excerpt, I will be reading out the second paragraph from my Fresh Out of College essay. Price is what you pay to get something. Value is how much it's really worth. Rather simple economics. The cheaper something is, usually the lower quality it has, or the more of it there is that's present. By the same token, price has less importance than value. What students get in return for the time and money. That's a quote from Kelly Andrew P. The quality of education may go down as a result of free college. A college professor's job is to guide his or her students through the subject matter, not teach them every single nuisance. In a crowded environment that is a free college, the students will be unable or unwilling to approach the professor and ask for help they need in order to pass their classes. This could, and more than likely will, for non-related reasons, be curbed by tuition caps. The point is that the crowded learning environment that free colleges will promote, unless tuition limits are imposed, it will be more difficult to learn. Kelly P. Andrew also speaks the truth when he says, students lack clear comparable information on the cost and quality of different post-secondary options. Schools compete with one another on things such as spending and faculty students' rations rather than the value of a student's education. In layman's terms, students lack a method to compare how well a college teaches its students, which it needs. Now then, I'm not sure how many of you managed to pick up on it, but for the duration of this video, we've had science fiction space battles occurring in the background. And the reason why I choose these is that it's what I see linking my three essays together. And what I mean by that is that space is the one thing that will really, truthfully unify humanity. The reason why I believe that is because the frontier spirit of the United States is what has held this country together for a very long time. And now that the frontier is gone, this country is, in my opinion, slowly rotting away. That's up for debate, but that's my opinion. If humanity wants to truly flourish, we need to look towards space. In order to do that, we need to venture out onto another frontier. That is where we'll begin weaving together our truly common history that will prevent wars and aggression and other such things, or at least, while not preventing them, maybe slow them down. By the same token, is also a huge risk and can result in war, such as the images you've seen from Sins of the Solar Empire, Star Wars, or Halo. Now then, I'm not sure how many of you realize this, but Free College's tie into this is that we need more aeronautical engineers and other such things in order to learn how to properly explore and expand around in space. Now then, I am moving along to my various other writings from my excerpts. First up would be my Stephen King excerpt. Now, the reason why I believe this ties in is because I want to try something new. I want to try exploring among the stars, but that's probably not going to happen for a really long time. And on the bright side, that's probably a good thing, because the worst thing that could happen is I could have my helmet crack and I could suffocate and explode due to decompression. Now then, moving along to my Stephen King writing, or the first paragraph from it. This is the first paragraph. I don't remember it in crystal clear detail, but for the first time that I tried to do something new that I had never tried to do was ages ago. It was the first time I had played basketball. I don't recall watching many basketball games before this point in time. All I knew is that there was a floor, a hoop, and a ball that you bounced on the floor, that you tried to throw through the hoop as well. I had seen my sister play basketball and wanted to play too. Initially, I wasn't very good, but then again, I can say the same thing for about everybody else on my team. Moving along, we come to my reflection from, I can't remember when, but it involved the concubine guy who got 3 concubines and made his wife go get them. I don't remember the title, but here is my second paragraph from that examination of it. I honestly don't like the idea of having a concubine when married. It's perverted, and we're not saying we are responsible for any babies born. We would not have to pay for child support or a whole host of other things. Assuming that somebody does this, at least keep it private. I don't need to hear about how you are legally forcing yourself on a woman. If I ever get married and I ever ask my wife to find me a concubine, I, despite the pain, hope she would castrate me, as people like that do not deserve to procreate. A little bit of objectification is okay in society. We can't control that, but we can't use anybody or anything like a living sex toy. If, and only if, both parties agree, it is okay for either of them to have a mistress, or whatever the male equivalent is. Concubine and mistress are different in my eyes. Mistress is just a friend with benefits. That's my personal opinion. Now, the tie-in that this has with the common theme of let's go out to space and build something big, beautiful, and pretty is that some practices need to flat out be discarded. Concubines is one of them. And failure to discard it in space will probably make space a big, horrible place and will eventually resort in something like the darkness of Warhammer 40k for those of us who know what that is. If you don't know what that is, and if you don't like grim, gory death and destruction, where the comic relief kills people by the millions, do not look at it, and do not look it up. Now, moving along, we come to my PDW Journal excerpts, one from September 28th, 2015, and the other from September 29th, 2015. Really close days together. First one is that my family comes from a combination of Czechoslovakia, as it was known at the time of immigration, Scotland, Germany, and a few others that I'm sure I'm unaware of. However, I and my immediate family members were born in America, and raised entirely in America. I am from a place of trees, tall and strong with green leaves and rolling fields of soybean crops, and in a few areas green grass. The strong scent of clean air, unpoisoned by the sickness of pollution and the soft rustling of the trees and grass. Lansing is my home and heritage, as I have never seen nor known of my other heritage, as I have not seen or ever known of locations of my past. The other one is about the time where I found my personal retreat spot, which is up at Bernard Park. First across the green grass, soft then prickly. Then a muddy creek. Across I jump to dry, arid land. Up the hill I climb, warmth seeping into my veins. Eyes open upon the top, there all I see. Sparse, spindly trees I see, accompanied by warm stony faces, stones of sand made ready to shape. The tie-in here is that I want those places to be up in space. I want to be, instead of sitting at that warm sandstone area, sitting up on a space station with artificial gravity, mind you, gazing down at the Earth in all its glorious splendor of the beautiful mountains, the shocking and awe-inspiring glaciers, and other such things that I can't even fathom to think of. Another thing that ties this in is that I want my children to say, I'm one of the first kids born in space. Despite my granddad's home or father's home being on the ground, I was raised and born in space. I'm a pioneer set out to explore and build something new and awesome for humanity, just like the pioneers before me. Now then, I honestly believe that what Mr. McCrae wanted us to learn from this was how to go about writing a paper for somebody or others to review. Which, considering that I'm going to go into culinary arts, I honestly don't believe that's going to be very useful for me, but it might turn out to be useful. On that note, I hope you enjoyed the idea of humanity one day venturing into space and unifying, and hopefully not having things like Star Wars or Warhammer 40k or what those other grim sci-fi universes are become what humanity really is. This is Dominic Hornick, signing off.